Okay, we're live once again, and we're just going to kind of jump into it because, as always, I'm too cheap to pay for the expensive version of the StreamYard software. So, I don't have an open video because you'd have to pay for that ability. Here we are. We're just going to start live, a lot of podcasts and live streams. But I'm Josh Irwin, and you're joining us for Fan Film Reflections, and we're going to talk about a film we made about 6 years ago called Demons. And we're here to talk about it because I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of this film. I'm really glad we made it. And I wanted for a long time to look back on it and talk about the things that I love about it and the things that I loved about making it. And so joining me is my friend Christian Gomez, who uh, is a fan film connoisseur turned fan film actor. And so he kind of came from the outside perspective of, hey, I like these fan films. I want to learn more about them. And so tell the audience a little bit about yourself for just a second, Christian.
Well, that was pretty good, actually. Like you said, fan film connoisseur. Just enjoyed watching the Avalon fan films. As also Starship Exeter, which was fantastic, and Star Trek Continues, Star Trek New World. I'm sorry, New Voyages, and Phase 2 with James Colley. All of those, enjoyed watching them. But the Avalon ones are really special to me. I don't know why. I think it's just because I enjoyed the new characters. You know, I love. I mean, Kirk is always my number one favorite captain, especially played by William Shatner. But I love James Colley and Vic Mignogna's take on those characters. But I really enjoy watching brand new characters. And I was really watching these when there wasn't a lot of, let's just say I feel like there's been a void since Star Trek Enterprise ended for sci-fi that I enjoy besides the Battlestar Galactica remake. So this really just hit it for me.
So we're going to say hi to some of our friends that are already here. William J., also a fan film actor, big-time fan film actor of Starship Farragut fame, and in the next Avalon universe film that's going to be released later on this year. We call him the King of Cosplay. And Jim Bolton is here. Thank you for being here, Jim. And of course, Kevin is here. So we got just some of our wonderful supporters. Some of them have been with us from the beginning. So let's dive into talking a little bit about this film. In 2019, we talked earlier about Avalon Lost. And by the time that we made Avalon Lost, I went back and I looked at the analytics, and we already had like 300,000 views by the time we made Avalon Lost, 300,000 views on Ghost Ship. And by the time we released Demons, we had something like 70,000 views on Avalon Lost. People liked it. We had proven that we could make a silly film, and we proved that we could make a serious film. And, after that view count explosion, we go to the first, our first ever Bijou Awards, and what happens? We win big. We won Fan Film of the Year right out the gate, first swing, and so that was amazing. So 2019 was like this amazing year, and it was just such a huge high. And coincidentally, we got presented with the Fan Film of the Year award, the Bijous, by Aaron Eisenberg, and there he is. And it was literally maybe 2 or 3 months before his death. And so that is always going to be a very, very special thing to me, that we got presented with that award by Aaron, just a few months before we lost him. And so it's extra special to me, something that I'll never forget. But we're gearing up to make Demons, and like you have the little TV guide cover there, and that's my friend Earl made that. He did a lot of the VFX work on Ghost Ship, but he's just a talented artist. We went to Neutral Zone Studios' first fan weekend, and there she is with Chris Doohan. We did some fun interviews. You can still find those on our channel. Now, one of the snags that we hit in the intervening time is that we had a misunderstanding with Neutral Zone Studios. And, if it had just been myself and Ray Tessie, I think that we would have worked it out. But there were, several other people involved. Some things were said, feelings were hurt. And so for a time, that avenue was closed, and that was unfortunate, but they still invited us to this fan weekend, and we had a great time there, and we still helped them promote the studio. But that leads us to the next part of the chapter, which was the construction of Neutrals, or of Warp 66 Studios here in Arkansas. Warp 66 stands for Wolf and Reynolds Productions. And, Glenn had built this building, and here he is. He's putting up the pipe on the top of the corridor. I painted the A-frame. And it was a fun opportunity to, build a spaceship. And one of the neat things that Glenn and Dan did was they gave us a lot of flexibility in modifying the sets for Avalon Universe. And so that was really a big factor in how we were able to make the films. We got a little comment. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate you. But it was fun. Christian, you're going to be here later this year. You'll get to see all of this. It's going to be modified from this, but it was such a blast to put that together and to be able to shoot here in Arkansas. Next thing that we wanted to do to really up our game, we were taking, demons really seriously. And this is my MMA coach, Nate No Mercy Murdoch. And we were bringing him in to play a Klingon soldier that we're going to have a little battle with. And he let us come into the gym and do this like makeup test to him in his martial arts school. And as you can see, he just made the most gnarly Klingon. And that was one of the things that we did, like when we were doing our crowdfunding, is we did these little makeup tests. And we actually went into like a McDonald's or something with him dressed like that. And it was a ton of fun. So now I want to, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about Starfleet Academy, but I want to bring up Academy for a second, because there was a scene in, I think it was episode 3, that resonated with me a little bit. And you guys will have to forgive me. I don't really remember the names of these characters very well, but I think the guy's name is Darum. They had this scene where there were Letterman's jackets. And after they had this like laser tag game, they get all these jackets and one said captain on it. And so Darum took the Letterman's jacket that was the captain's Letterman's jacket, and he gave it to Genesis because he felt like she had earned it. And that scene resonated to me because that was what this was like for me, is that I felt like Victoria had earned this. It wasn't a situation where, like with Avalon Lost, where she simply asserted herself. We talked about it this time around, and I was okay with her taking the director's chair and being in charge creatively and making this, her creative ownership, because I believed in her. And so I kind of felt like, Darum putting the captain's jacket on her. And, the only thing that I ever asked was, when the time came, I wanted her to support me creatively. So I definitely feel like when you look at this film, you have to creatively really credit her for what we created, what we made. So the whole process of making this film started with Constar. Vance came down that year, and we did a Constar shoot early in the spring. And it was the first time I'd ever met Vance in person. And we had this amazing time shooting, at Warp 66, shooting for Constar. And the first shots we ever took for Demons were that Vance came over to my studio that I was in the day after the shoot, and we shot all of his green screen material. So that was the first set of material that we ever shot for Demons, was with Vance. So as I've mentioned, Demons was originally written to star Tyler. It was originally written to be, Mason would be part of this journey. And so Mason's journey through Demons would be a very different journey than what you see with Ramirez, because they're very different characters. So with Mason, it was going to start comedic and then become serious. And even Tyler, I think, never truly understood what I was trying to do here, where I wanted Mason to earn the captaincy. And so he was going to start out like a clown, like he had been in Ghost Ship. And then as things got serious, he would have to get serious. He would have to change his attitude. He would have to rise to the occasion. And one of the big things, as a writer, you put so much of yourself into your characters because you rely on your own experiences, right? And so with Mason, part of what I put into him was that I'm the kind of person that I just do it myself. I do so many things myself. And I'm bad about delegating or relying on somebody else or having the faith to count on someone else. And so that's what I was sort of relating to Mason was, he was going to have to learn not to just be the person to just do it himself. He was going to have to learn to trust his crew. So that was going to be his arc if the film had starred him. Of course, that contrasts with what we then had to adapt with Ramirez, where Ramirez, of course, had this story where he'd been through some stuff. He didn't want to be in Starfleet anymore. A lot of his arc was grieving the loss of Mason. He was weighed down by command, blah, blah, blah. So this is all exemplified in a scene where the very first scene on the bridge, when I had watched Ghost Ship later on, I had realized that when Mason is like, helm, speed warp 6, engage, he never gave him a course to set. And so it was going to be this funny take where we're going to go right back to that moment. And he was going to say warp 6 engage. And they're like, where are we going? And Mason was just caught in the moment and he gave that order and he didn't realize that he never told him where to go. Well, with Ramirez, you got to play that differently. So instead of it being this comedic moment, it's a deal where, Ramirez is, doing that because he's in deep in this grief with Mason. And so he gives the instruction to set a course and doesn't realize he didn't tell him where to go. So you can't just change the names of the characters and go, okay, now we're good because we changed actors. You've got to rewrite it. But, Demons has this double entente where, and it was always this way for Beck, where she was facing the demons of the past and facing the demons of the present. When you put Ramirez in there, it makes that also the case with him. And this is a big change here with where we're at now. It's no longer the Three Musketeers of Ghost Ship where, all three characters were sort of equally the star. Once we get to Demons, Amanda Beck is unquestionably the lead character. She is the hero character of the story. That was my specific intent, and that's it. So the thing about, of course, Ramirez is the captain, but he's not the lead character. Now, Chuck, he's a sweet guy. This didn't bother him. He had no issue with Ramirez being a supporting character to Beck. We had a great special guest. At one point, I worked every sports reporter that ever covered the sports beat in Arkansas into these films somehow. So John Laws was a friend of mine. He actually worked at the same ABC station that I do now. And good guy. He and my other friend, Jay Clyburn, who were both journalists in this area, they both moved to Atlanta about the same time. They were both pursuing acting. And so since, Jay couldn't be involved, we brought John Laws in, and he did a fantastic job. We got Commodore Jim Landscape in the house with us. Hello, Jim. All right. So we had all kinds of challenges, and we'll talk more about this after we watch segment 1, which we're about to do. But we ended up the chips fell to where we had to shoot in the summer. And, Warp 66, there's no climate control in one of the buildings. And so we were having to do things like shoot at night. There were shoots where we got there at 10 o'clock at night and we shot until 11 o'clock the next morning, which is the case with the fight scene with the Klingons. So you see that photo there. And one interesting tidbit about that is that we shot it in reverse. So the end of the scene, the beginning of the scene where they're in the quarters, that was the end of the shooting session where it's the next morning. And then the beginning where they, the security guards are there, that was 10 o'clock the previous night at the start of the shoot because we had our security guards there. So we had that. We had long shooting days. We had lots of complications on makeup. So, we just, at the very start of it, we were having really long shoots. We were shooting in the heat. We were doing it at night, and it was rough. And so it kind of came contingent upon me to come up with some fixes for that. So Eric says, when will the Once and Future Captain come out? Well, Eric, it's right here. It's on this hard drive. I am working on it a lot. Every kind of spare chance that I get, I'm hoping it's going to be about 1 month. We have a pickup shoot scheduled for not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. So hopefully that'll be the final pickup shoot, and then we will move on. So we're going to take a look at segment 1 because, this is back when we posted in segments because we were a little more worried about the guidelines than we are now.
Damage report.
This is the second
Important
thing
cell
we
has been
shot.
destroyed. We're finding dry plasma.
Take the mains offline. Reroute
Yeah.
auxiliary power to the shields.
Captain, they're coming around for another pass.
Try hailing them again.
There's no response, sir.
What about those shields?
There's no response, sir. That's a nitpicking nerd joke because he has a compilation on YouTube of all of the open hailing frequencies, and they instantly say no response. And so I was like, okay, you almost want to walk over him with that, like, hail them, no response. Well, that's just kind of an inside
It
story.
was a fright.
They're targeting the bridge.
All hands, brace for impact.
This is Friday night.
Ross, what are you doing?
The artifact, Captain.
Go.
Deck 5.
Yeah, Josh, I can't hear you really.
I sometimes just go a little too crazy with this.
To anyone from Starfleet who finds this, it is imperative that you determine the origin and the purpose of this artifact. The fate of the galaxy may depend on it.
Warning. Hull breach. Life support failure.
The computer voice of our friend Cynthia.
Amanda, there's something I think you should know. If you find this,
Thank you, Jim.
Josh, I think the volume of the film is a little too loud to the point that I can't hear you speaking when you do speak.
How about there? Is that better?
I think so.
Okay, copy that.
Welcome aboard, Commander.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Sure, standard mission briefing.
This was the start of the
Come on,
shooting
Coach.
day. I think this
We're
was like the
assigned to
first
Deck 5.
Saturday that we shot.
Cabin number 1.
I remember the lady
there,
who
problem,
walked the corridors from the
Commander?
previous episode working at the space at the starbase.
No, of course not. The
Yep,
captain is
that's
always
Laura.
assigned cabin 500 and the first officer 501.
Right.
Of course, Jason Sprigg, this is our friend from Jacksonville, Florida, and originally from Scotland, I believe. And what I love about this is neutral zone, so she's remembering back to Ghost Ship. And that name tag is at warp 66, and now she's at warp 66. So she opens the door, and the memory is neutral zone, right? And then she's at warp 66. So not the same set. Glenn
Captain Sloan,
specifically
stardate 5476.5.
created
the
that
USS
set for this
Excalibur
film.
is embarking on its final shakedown cruise.
King
Commander
of
Eric
Cosplay
Menard will
says,
join us
Redhead's
over
always look good in
subspace
blue,
to
and
monitor
Christian
the
Gomez
performance of
agrees
the
with
new
you.
components installed
Yes.
during the ship's refit. This wasn't supposed to be my command. but I owe it to my friend to be a good steward of his ship.
Chuck
As we
is a
prepare for
sweetheart,
departure,
man. He is
I can't help but imagine
absolutely
what this
in real
moment might have
life
been
who he
like
is
for him.
on camera.
Helm, speed warp 6.
He is fan film Keanu Reeves.
Like I've told you before, I would have loved to have seen more of Captain Ramirez in command, but I guess we don't get that.
No, we
beyond
can't really
this
get,
one and the one after it.
Now, if you want, I can probably
Bridge to
introduce you
Chief
to him when
Engineer.
we come
Status.
down.
We're ready for a controlled test of the warp engines.
That'd be nice.
But I recommend that we start at warp
So
1
again,
and
here
work our
they're
way
in that
up
control
warp
room
6.
at Public Access TV as
telemetry
the
is locked.
engineering section.
I agree with Commander Archer on this. Just take it
We've
nice
got
and slow.
Vance on the green
We'll
screen.
concentrate on monitoring engines and sensors first.
All systems reporting green, sir.
Okay, Helm. Warp 6 engage.
Warp 6, sir?
Is there a specific course you want us to plot, Captain?
Right, yeah.
Sir, I believe our first test will be to use the new sensor arrays to run a scan of the Vaudreuil Nebula.
Right.
I like that.
Set
little
course for
display.
111 Mark 10.
That was
with,
fun. The only
Hatarian
regret
system.
that I have there is that I wish that when I had done that, I wish that I had actually added a practical light to that. That's the regret that I have there. But other than that, I think it worked out pretty good.
That
Warp
seemed to
6
me,
engage.
that little effect cemented to me that this was definitely
that we start at warp 1
that
and
this
work our way
universe
up.
was technologically more advanced than the
And the
TOS
Brooke,
timeline.
Could you take us to warp 1 and then once we stabilize, slowly increase the speed to warp 6?
And I just
please?
love the way the Star Trek Beyond
Nice.
uniforms just really look well on this set.
They do. They look really good. I've always loved how that look turned out.
That's the one thing I love about Beyond was the uniforms.
Same here. I really love how, not just how this set turned out, but like this kind of sequence is one of my favorites for lighting that we did in Avalon Universe.
I wanted to ask you, how did you achieve the lighting for this scene? Because it looks very well done.
For the colored lights, the accenting, those are those are colored art LED pars that were just boomed from the top of the set. And then of course when she, clicked that on there, it's a practical. So I had a motion picture light on a stand, put in a sound effect, and then I just turned on the light. I'm standing off camera and I just put the light on.
Personal log. Commander James Laws. Stardate 1512.
How good is this guy, man?
First officer.
Yeah, Jim, I really wanted that
Command,
music
training
here
track,
because we're
direct
going and
with
reflecting back on,
This
what I
is
refer to as the
everything I wanted
TOS
when I joined Starfleet.
crosstalk era before the divergence of the Avalon
Why do I
universe.
feel
So
so
I felt it was appropriate to kind of put that there. Also because, we're talking about a romance. And I've always thought of TOS as a very romantic show. And so we're going into a part of the film where we're talking about a romance, and I thought that was very appropriate. I love this scene, by the way. I'm just going to preference it. I'm sorry. I know we kind of make fun of it later, all right? But I wrote this scene, and I love this scene. So
It's funny you say that. This is probably my favorite scene too, and it's also I think Emily's favorite scene in this. In the fan film, and especially the way Victoria Fox has her hair, a very vintage look.
Mhm.
It goes well with this
That was
being
her idea.
in the past, and she just looks amazing with that hair and the TOS uniform, and Laws looks great in his velour shirt as
He
well.
looks like he belongs in TOS.
Yes, they both do.
When we were shooting this scene, it was like, you're seeing the way that the lights hitting John Laws going, man, this guy looks like he belongs in the original Star Trek. And now funny fact here is that, Warp 66 out in the middle of nowhere, and some guy was out mowing his lawn while we were starting to shoot this scene. So she went out there in that full getup and told the guy to turn his lawnmower off.
Wow.
You did it, Amanda. I got in.
Of course you did. They're going to be so lucky to have you.
Guess you're going to have to get used to seeing me in gold. I start command training next week.
Actually, I have some news too. I've been offered a position on the Oberth.
The Oberth. Is that where Command dumped Mason?
This doesn't have anything to do with Mason. They're going to study a protoplanetary nebula in a T-Tauri-type star system.
We were supposed to be moving forward together. Instead, you take another mission to keep him out of trouble?
It's not like that. And we can still move forward, even if
And so
we move
I'm
in different
using
directions for a little while.
my battery-powered
We'll be in
LEDs.
different quadrants. We'll be on
They're
complete
modern
opposite
lighting
sides of
instruments
Federation
like
space.
this.
How exactly is that moving forward together?
It's only temporary.
What's interesting is that later on, when we were trying to more accurately be faithful to TOS, in Tales from the Neutral Zone, we were always shooting with the incandescent lights and the Fresnels that you would use back then. We're not doing that here. We're using modern LED lighting fixtures, and we're still doing like a really neat job of kind of faithfully recreating the look and feel of it, and I adore it.
Assignment in Starfleet is temporary.
No. You don't have to take that assignment. With me transferring to command, they're going to need a new science officer for the bridge. You'd be perfect for that. Admit it. The Oberth is not going to offer that.
Jay, I love you. And I admire your ambition. But I'm just not interested in chasing a promotion. I want to see what's out there.
Even if I asked you to stay.
Would you give up your chance at command if I asked you to go with me?
Of course. I love you.
Because I love you, I would never ask you for that.
Like ticks on the chronometer, so are the star dates of our lives. Which that was NerdTube. NerdTube, when they did their review of this film, they were the ones that said they made the star dates of our lives joke. And so we were kind of homaging them, and we did that in Crisis.
Personal log,
This is Zakande.
supplemental. We recently encountered some undiscovered artifacts, and in our findings, we came across this bad boy. Now,
Absolutely right, Gordon. He was fantastic.
we're going to take this back to the nearest star base and hopefully
I think it's
unlock
funny
some
that he's like
of the
talking
mystery
about the
that
artifact,
is
and he's like,
this artifact
"We
right
found
now."
this bad boy."
And
Like,
I wish you were here for this.
He improv that. They're like, "We found this bad boy," and I just kept it.
To
in.
anyone who
I thought it
finds
was
this,
hilarious.
it is imperative that you determine the origin and the purpose of this artifact. The fate of the galaxy may depend on it.
Warning. Hull breach. Life support failure.
So, Jim, your timing here would be, this would be taking place in about the
find
third
this,
season
I just want
of
you to know.
TOS, would be the equivalent of when this film is. So it'd be, I think it's equivalent to like Plato's Stepchildren, about the same time, what the star date comes out to be. Oh, thank you. We're working on it.
That's one reason I also love the Avalon Universe fan films, because the officers all come across as very professional, like they've been through a real academy, like an Annapolis-type naval academy, and it shows in the quality of their...
That's my finger right there. That's me. That's my finger on a green screen.
Was this your... So whose idea was it to do a Star Trek Discovery style Klingon for that scene? Because that's the vibe I get in that hand scene.
Well, it was a classic Klingon, like from a classic cosplay glove or whatever. So
something about the voice of that.
Well, I did like affect the voice, and so that's probably why it evokes that feel. I've always been doing that, and they kind of do the same thing. It's one of those deals where Vance is always thinking that they're taking ideas from us, and so like when I listen to Jaden Cragg talk, I'm like, how they affect his voice from what we're doing in Avalon, because we did the same thing like years before. So again, this is my MMA coach, Nate No Mercy Murdoch, and you don't want to fight him in real life because it absolutely takes your head off.
Unless you're Victoria Fox. She does a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
Intruder alert. Deck 5.
She wanted to do a fight scene. She really wanted to do a fight scene. That was a big deal for her.
Klingon life sign.
And so the whole sort of like
security alert, Deck 5, Section
process
Alpha.
of doing, yes, Will, that's correct. That's who you named your character after.
Security.
But she wanted to do a fight with Klingon. It was a big deal. And then if you look too, you see that they're doing a lot of physical interaction with the set, and that was very important to her. She wanted in the fight scenes. She wanted to be slammed on the table. She wanted to be slammed into the wall. She wanted to very much involve the set in that, because at Neutral Zone, we couldn't do that. We didn't want to damage the walls. Well, Glenn built this set for us, so if we broke it, it didn't matter. So that was one thing she was real adamant about, was involving the environment. I thought that was a good idea. So he just kind of like gives up on her. I'm wasting my time. He goes to grab the artifact, and so he's underestimated her a little bit. So my favorite martial art of all time is judo. And so I really wanted a throw here. But you can't just throw someone like this, so it's like kick him in the nuts first, then do the throw. In reality, he threw himself. He dove when she did that wrist manipulation. So again, this fight scene, this took 13, 14 hours to shoot. We started about 10 o'clock one night. It was an early October night, and we filmed until about noon the next day. And we met at someone's house at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, did like a little makeup party for everyone, did as much makeup as we could, and then went out to the location, went out to the studio, and started shooting that night.
Hey guys, nice of you to join the party.
So where was security all this time?
So, you can't see him very well here, but our two security officers are John Michael McGee and his brother Blake Bryant. And Blake Bryant ends up being Spawn in Needs of the One. He gets a starring role later. So we're going to talk about the speed of the security response here in a minute, because that's been a subject of a lot of comments over the years. Little cut there. Now this is one of the final shooting days we did. I don't think it was the last day. I think it was the second to the last day that we did this. And again,
I don't know.
this scene is like midnight. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we're filming this.
Commander Beck, please hold still.
And one of the challenges
What is this thing?
of filming at like 1 in the morning out in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, is there were a lot of crickets. And you can hear the crickets and the sound. I had to screen the crickets out in the post-production process.
How do we stop them from doing it again?
Well, I always got the impression this scene takes place at night because of her being in a bathrobe about to go to sleep.
100%.
Heading until we know more.
And we dimmed the lighting a little bit in the corridor and here to kind of communicate that it was night shift. So yes, that's a good in.
And I'm guessing Ramirez can't sleep, hence why he's still in command even at night.
Regeneration
no night shift officer like
little things that you don't want to spoon feed the audience.
Head to engineering, see what we can find out about
So
this thing.
yes, absolutely correct.
Captain, may I speak with you?
Sure, Doctor. What is it?
I am concerned about Commander Beck.
100%.
Beck?
So this
Beck
is
has been through
Courtney
a lot,
is her
but
name.
She is
Courtney
handling
Jensen.
it well.
lady that I went to church with, but was also
she
really
is suffering from a high
active in
level
the
of
in the
stress.
acting community here
If
in
she
Arkansas.
continues to
She's a
repress
friend
these
of both
emotions, the
Chuck
result
and
could be
Victoria,
catastrophic.
so that's how
And as
she
the
kind of got
Starship's first
involved.
officer,
She did an amazing
she
job.
cannot afford to be distracted by such emotions.
And that was one of those things we talked about here. It was,
All right,
do we
doctor.
put her in
Speak
like
with her.
the stereotypical Vulcan wig? And we did. We went with her natural hair because, she's very beautiful. So we just kind of left it like that. Some great CG, of course, by Sam Cockings.
Amanda, are you okay?
I'm fine.
It's when you know she's not.
She's not.
Too. And I know people say this all the time, but if you want to talk to someone,
I remember when we did like one of the premieres for this, and
what'd you find?
We have
The
Caleb
circuitry is crystalline,
Unshall
but to
playing
say that
this
it's beyond our
young
technology,
engineer. People
it's a
are
bit
like,
of an
what's the
understatement.
pressure in the house?
Starfleet does have a theory that talks all about encoding data into linear
He does
memory
come across
crystals
like
that can
he's
then be refined into
he's
isolinear
a boy genius, you
optical
could say,
chips.
like Wesley in the first season.
I guess that's decades away.
It's interesting.
Really far less
He had
complicated
never
than this
acted
design.
before. He was a camera person, so this was the first time he ever acted in a film.
I've located the asteroid where the previous crew found the artifact. According to their logs, they found an alien outpost constructed there.
On screen? Full sensor scan.
The outpost has been destroyed.
That's the
Impact is
old
consistent with a
Starbase
full spread of
Studios
photon
mystery.
torpedoes. I'm reading a Klingon signature.
Got replaced by the neutral zone.
It can't be a coincidence.
Screen in future productions.
Yellow alert. I want a full.
Sir, there's an energy surge aft.
Again, on this film, you have to give credit to the casting to Victoria, that she is a casting director by trade.
They're coming
She
back for another
casts
pass, sir.
just about every actor in this film. So that's a credit that goes to her.
I need something stronger than navigation shields.
Working on it, sir. Controls are jammed.
Switching to manual.
They're closing.
Phasers.
Phasers locked.
Fire.
Try the shields again.
Shields are rising.
Damage report.
Damage to the forward phaser emitters and impulse engines. We're on thrusters only for the moment. Shields are up but fluctuating.
They've taken damage too. They retreated into the thick of the asteroid field.
Round one.
So, getting back to the challenges, again, we planned it to be 2 segments. So we'll go into segment 2 here in a second, but we were a lot more concerned with the fan film guidelines back then. Ever since then, Paramount's left everybody alone who's genuinely a fan production. So if we did it today, it would be one continuous film. Like I said, we were shooting at night. And kind of the division of how it worked is that she was more concentrated on the acting. I was more concentrating on the visual storytelling aspect of it. But there was a little bit of crosstalk. So she might say, I'd like a tight shot of this, or I might emphasize that this character moment means X. And so, even though you put somebody in the title role as the director, we were co-directing in a large sense. And we had like some makeup delays where we held on makeup for long amounts of time. And so it kind of came contingent upon me to go, how am I going to solve these problems? Like having the makeup party before we went out, or solving the heat by shooting at night, or, I've got to get rid of crickets. And there were all these creative challenges that you have to face when you actually make a movie, because then everybody gets, everybody's about telling the story and the art, and that's wonderful. But a big thing you run into is, then you got to practically make the movie, and that's easier said than done. But what I will say so far is I really love what we did photographically. I really enjoyed the little things like putting a light, inside the screen or close to the screen, so it looks like she's just watching a screen at night with the lights off in her quarters. Things like that were real fun. Doing the smoke in this scene at the beginning where there's all this smoke and going through Warp 66 and doing some handheld camera work and just trying to do something different was really fun. Aliens are super excited until it's time to do the makeup. So the thing about Will here is he not only is always the guy, sometimes he's the guy in the makeup chair and sometimes he's the guy doing the makeup. And so he's seen both sides of it. He knows what he's talking about. Jim Bolton says, the captain has forgotten himself. It's a classic conflict story, and that's the next one. That's right. So
I love the visuals that Sam Cocking
2 dead,
series.
11 injured, 3 are currently in critical condition. The rest are stable, but sickbay is overflowing.
Discharge for everyone to their quarters, and let's hope we don't have any more casualties. Beck, what can you tell me about this installation?
What I love here is,
According to the previous crew's logs, they found an abandoned outpost from an unknown alien civilization on this asteroid. The structures were intact, though the tech was mostly inoperable. The component they found was one of the few exceptions, but its purpose and function is still unknown.
So, the fact that it's now completely...
So, I'm on a device called a slider, and it's an apparatus you use to move the camera around. And we're moving around the table in this little arc. And so what I tried to do was, it wasn't like what they do in Discovery where they just orbited the briefing room table over and over again until you're ready to puke. And they're on like a steady cam or something. But it's also not like some fan films I've seen where like there was like one that had a 6-minute, 8-minute briefing room scene where the camera was just locked off. I wanted to keep the briefing fast paced, and I wanted the camera to subtly move the whole time, just enough to where the scene is moving along, but it's not making everyone sick.
Destroyed is definitely a recent development.
That VFX
alien technology could explain how they got past their shields.
But if the outpost is completely destroyed, then how did they use the alien tech?
It is logical to assume the technology was moved to a different location.
Or there's more than one outpost in this sector.
Either way, those Klingons want that artifact, and they'll destroy us to get it.
They very nearly did. The only reason we're still alive is because the capabilities of our new system surprised them. Now that they know what we can do, I doubt a second face-off will end so well.
I love this
How long
scene.
will
It
it
just
take to get
feels
out of
very
this asteroid field on thrusters
TNG
only?
or
9
Voyager.
hours.
So we need to fix the phasers first.
So this
The bad
camera thing
news is that it's not a computer control malfunction.
Now, as I
The
call it,
actuation servos to the forward phaser emitters are physically jammed, and the new dorsal turrets aren't operational yet.
Too bad we can't spray some WD-40 on it.
Actually, you could. All you would need is a hydro spinner, but you'd have to go out there. The problem is on the outside of the primary hull.
Brilliant. It's not like I haven't done an EVA mission before.
Going out there with an enemy ship in play is risky.
Without those phasers, we're all dead anyway. It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Okay.
So another quick technical note on this scene is that I think it was one of the first scenes we ever recorded from an audio standpoint in 32-bit float audio. And the advantage there was that even though it was the first time it was done, the levels were really low. And so we had to raise them up a whole bunch, but because it was 32-bit floating point audio, it didn't distort it.
But if we're gonna do this, we need to do it quick. Let's get to work. Archer. Be careful out there, Commander.
Got the
Yes, sir.
fake red alert going.
Why does Commander Beck look back when Captain Ramirez stops Archer?
I'm in position.
Lieutenant Rook,
My
bring the ship
guess
to a
is
full
that
stop and
she's
use RCS thrusters to
I don't know.
hold position as steady as
What's being
possible.
said.
Aye, sir.
That was an acting choice she made. I
Archer,
never asked her
you have a
about
go. Be careful. Try not to rush it.
I never do that. The good news is that the damage is not as extensive as we initially thought. I should be able to get this cleared up pretty quickly.
How was that filmed? I know she's not really in space, but you do a good job making it look that way.
You talking about this shot with Archer?
Yeah.
So
Is
she's
that a
on
green screen?
Yeah, she's on a green screen and she's wearing this like ridiculous space helmet that was like the cheesiest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And it was white, but we spray painted it silver. And then she's got a little LED strip inside the space helmet that's putting some light on her face. And then the rest of it's just, After Effects.
Good news is that the damage is not as extensive as we initially thought. I should be able to get this cleared up pretty quickly.
That helmet on her head, it just didn't frame below her head.
Like being a zoom.
Third spray, 12 degrees
no one
starboard.
knows what you're wearing under.
Archer, hang on.
Exactly.
They're firing.
She's lost maglock.
Transporter room, beam back aboard.
Transporter room status.
We've lost her signal, Captain. There's nothing to lock onto.
Okay, so even this is a little joke. I'm sorry. This is how awful I am. So there's I think the episode is the Ashara Yar episode, and they're going to beam some people off of a shuttle or something. And Riker's like, beam them out of there, Mr. O'Brien. And then the shuttle explodes, and he's like, status O'Brien, and O'Brien's like, there's nothing to lock on to, Commander. And it just sounds a lot more over dramatic than it is. And so I was always laughing about that scene for some reason. It was so funny to me, and I can't even tell you why. It was just it was over the top. And so when Archer dies here, I have Larry Fleming well, there's nothing to lock onto. I was making fun of that scene. So I bet you didn't know that.
And a Klingon ship.
They've disappeared again, sir.
And of course, that's one of those things.
Sir, we can't escape on just thrusters. If you don't get those phasers back up, they're going to keep picking us apart.
To you, it's like a joke,
Commander Beck, you have the bridge.
What? Sir, where are you going?
Yeah.
Computer, what's the destination of Turbo Car 1?
The destination of Turbo Car 1 is the primary hull, starboard side, airlock.
The captain has forgotten who he is. Rook, you have the con.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And they gave it their all.
I gave you an order, Commander.
With all due respect, Captain, your orders are wrong. You're not thinking clearly, and I am not letting you go out there.
I think you're forgetting who's in command here.
No, sir. I think you are. You cannot let your personal feelings drive you to reckless behavior. One person's life is not worth the rest of this crew.
You think I have feelings for Archer?
No. I think you made her your personal responsibility because Mason had feelings for her.
It is my responsibility, and I failed. I failed them both. I'm not gonna fail anybody else.
Then get back on that bridge and do your job.
Why? So I can order more people to their death?
So the A-frame behind Ramirez and the A-frame behind Beck are the same A-frame. Again,
this is old wall trick again.
This is the one wall trick again, where I was trying to make it look like they're in this airlock that has a door on either side. And so we put this little sign on one side of it, and we changed the color of the lighting, and we did it with screen direction. But it's the same wall in both shots.
Mason and Archer weren't enough, so why not Jenkins or Hightower? Why not you?
You think you're the only person here who's lost someone? You think you get to fall apart because it hurts?
Photographically,
no.
What this scene looks like. I really am happy.
I know Mason was your friend too, but you weren't there. It should have been me.
He was my best friend, especially after you were gone. Which means I know there's no way you could have talked him out of it. And Archer wasn't my best friend. She was part of my team. And that matters.
Part of the team?
She made her own choices
Sound
too.
like Chakotay.
Well,
They're not even the only ones I've lost. Laz was... But I have a job to do. And so do you. Hell, Lance, I have his job, just like you've got Mason's. And I know that's messed up.
Wait until we talk about it here.
But it doesn't matter because we've got 500 people on this ship counting on us to figure it out.
What do you think I'm trying to do?
I think you're trying to run away out there instead of facing that bridge and leading your crew. Think about this, Lance. What happens to them if you go out there to finish what Jamie started and you die too?
Better me than one of you. I'm not sending anyone else out there.
I'm not asking you to send someone else. I'm asking you to think, Lance. This isn't some test where the only choices are who has to die. This crew has already lost one captain. They just lost another crewmate. The last thing any of them need is one more sacrifice.
So what do you want me to do? I can't lose another member of Mason's crew.
They aren't his crew. And it's not his ship. Maybe it might have been. Maybe they almost were. And maybe Mason. Maybe Mason would have been a great captain.
Used a really
if he'd gotten the chance.
Lean prime lens for this close-up. I love the way it turned out.
But he's gone. He's gone and they're yours now. So don't you dare dishonor him by trying to live his life instead of yours. Your ship needs you. Your crew needs you.
It's just some stuff I bought. We didn't have a composer yet.
I need you. But if you'd rather go out there and throw away your life out of some misguided guilt, then you're not the captain I hoped either of you would be.
Here, Amanda.
Captain on the bridge.
Mr. Hightower. You'll be taking over duties as chief engineer until we can get back to Starbase 6.
Me, Captain?
You can do this.
Aye, sir.
Good. Now, is there any way we can make it look like we've blown a plasma relay? Vent some drive plasma into space?
Yeah, that would actually be really easy. The new design has exhaust ports that allow you to vent plasma into space in case of emergency.
Excellent. Do it. On my mark, vent the plasma and cut main power.
Aye, Captain.
Mr. Rook, I need you to load a full spread of photon torpedoes, unarmed. This means you're gonna have to arm, lock, and fire in about 2 seconds time.
I love a good challenge, sir.
I know you do.
Beck, as soon as we power down, switch to passive scan sensors. And whenever you get a blip on the motion sensors, I need you to feed it to tactical for a faster weapons lock.
Aye, sir.
Torpedoes loaded, but inactive. Ready.
Vent plasma.
Slider shot.
Now.
Motion control. Custom bird of prey by Dan Copy. Specifically designed that for this.
I have them astern. Transferring telemetry to tactical.
Tactical plot on viewer.
They're powering their disruptors.
Stand by.
When this light comes on here, the
Closing to point blank range.
Again, that's just me clicking a light off screen.
They're firing.
Now.
fire.
Probably the most beautiful photon torpedo effect I've ever seen in any Star Trek.
What was that, Christian?
That's probably the most beautiful photon torpedo effect I've seen in any Star Trek production.
That's again, that's Sam, man. He did a great job.
Good shooting, Mr. Rook.
For the first version of our Andorian, our navigator here, she was a friend of Victoria Archer's that she brought in.
It's another day at the office, sir.
It was a good plan, Captain.
Earned it.
Yeah, you know, and so he earned the captain chair back. You're gonna get to see Frank
sorry,
Sconey
Commander.
as an Andorian. Will.
I wanted you to hear it from me. I know you two were close.
So before we dive into this scene real quick, this is one of my favorite scenes in all of Avalon universe. Even now, this is one of my favorite scenes. Beautifully acted by both Chuck and Courtney. There was going to be, had this gone on, Chuck and Courtney would have been a couple.
Thank you, sir. I believed in her. I had hoped that she would move beyond her grandfather's name.
She was a valued member of the crew in her own right. Her bravery served us well.
That was Jamie, all right. Brave to a fault. She was always so confident that she could get herself out of any situation that she put herself into. That's what I admired about her.
We all did. She will be missed.
Yes, she will. Thank you, sir. Bernard out.
Okay, hot take, and I don't care who disagrees with me. Vance is the greatest actor in all of fan films. I don't care if anyone agrees with me or not. That's my hot take. I love me some Vance.
Can I help you, Doctor?
I wish to discuss Commander Archer, sir.
It's never easy to lose a member of the crew.
We had to switch
Especially when
chairs
one-
here. Like if you
We all did.
look when she comes in the room,
She will be missed. I help you, Doctor.
he's like, how low he is, you know. Like so, when we went into the close up, we put
Help
him
you,
in a
Doctor.
better chair.
I wish to discuss Commander Archer, sir.
It's never easy to lose a member of the crew.
Especially when one possesses feelings of personal responsibility toward her.
What did Beck say to you?
I have not spoken with Commander Beck.
Then... how?
One need not experience emotion to recognize certain patterns.
Captain Mason was in love with her. He gave his life to save her during that shuttle crash. He trusted me to keep her safe. And I failed.
There is no regulation barring such a relationship, yet he never chose to disclose these feelings.
Command comes with a certain degree of discretion. You can't allow your emotions to keep you from making the right decisions. So, regardless of my own feelings, or even Mason's, I had to give the order that led to her death.
Human emotion is like nature. It cannot be ignored or dismissed. To deny this is illogical. And while one must remain objective in the moment, you must work through your feelings, or they will overwhelm your ability to function effectively.
Easier said than done, I'm afraid.
I am at your disposal should you require further assistance, Captain.
Are you saying you're here to offer me emotional support?
Indeed.
I just keep thinking about them dying. Out there. All alone.
If there is one thing I have learned about Starfleet crews, it is that they are never alone. And you, Captain, are not alone.
The OG Avalon University.
I love the violin music in that scene that was playing. It was really heightened the emotion of that scene.
So we get it up loud again. Okay. Yeah, it would have been awesome. Who knows what they would have done together. Yeah, I'm very proud of this film. So proud of it, proud of everything about it. Whatever things you can look at it and, kind of do a nitpicking nerd if you want and be like, none of this makes any sense. I still love it. I think it is a beautiful film and I'm very, very proud of it. So we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to talk for just a second about it. But we're going to show you a couple of clips here in just a second, some additional clips, because we're going to discuss reflecting on it. Okay. So the airlock scene, a lot of the people here watching have been very sweet about the airlock scene. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that. I know that Chuck and Victoria would be very appreciative of that. There have been some people who've been really ugly about the airlock scene. You've got this scene where they leave the bridge. They have this long 5-minute conversation in the middle of kind of a crisis situation before going back. And I know, Christian, that's one thing you brought up.
And I'm sure nitpicking nerd would as well.
He would be like,
lift Commander Rook in charge of the
he leaves him on the bridge. The airlock.
You got the Klingon bird of prey out there.
There is this bird of prey. It is ridiculous, make no sense, it is stupid. And because NerdTube, they picked this scene apart, and one of the things that they said that ended up being quoted on every time we ever went to set after this, where is Zam in the middle of it is like, "Who the fuck is my son? Get back on the bridge!" He's like yelling at them in this scene. And so like there's at least one point in every shoot with Tyler later on where we're like, who the fuck is my son? So this scene was originally written to have Mason in it. And that was going to track with that motivation that he was trying to, take the responsibility on himself. So it wasn't a thing where he was getting emotional and leaving and all of this just because he was pouting or something. He was defaulting to the mindset that he was going to go out there and he was going to fix the phasers himself. And so he was defaulting to, I'm just going to do it. And Beck going after him was like, okay, look, man, you can't just take this on your shoulders. You're a captain now. You've got to rely on your crew. And so that was, the impetus for him to then go back and delegate and, okay, earn that captaincy. The original version of this scene was less than a page. It would have been 50 seconds long. What we got is 5.5 minutes. Well, and then we had this other issue in the comments over the years was about the fight scene. And the issue with the fight scene that people had was they would always say it took security too long to respond. And I would be like, they got there in like a minute flat, like that. Why does that seem like that's too long? And I kept like really, you know what I mean? Like I kept getting like really frustrated. Like, why are people saying that it took security too long to respond? What do they just expect, the security officer to just teleport into the room like it's a video game or something? And what I realized is that the issue wasn't that security took too long to respond. The issue is that the fight is too long. And the fight being too long, the byproduct is people are interpreting it as security took too long. So I had this conversation with Vance where we said, we were just talking about how could you fix these two issues? And what we came up with was just cut these scenes down, cut these two scenes down. Oddly enough, it was Tyler, and I'm not going to repeat him, but it was Tyler who said, don't do that. This is her film. This is what she made. Respect that and leave it as is. I'm paraphrasing. That's not what he said. Sometimes you can't really repeat what Tyler Donovan says on the internet. But that is what he said. But here's what we did do is just for the heck of it, Christian and I were talking about this again last night. He's like, what would you do differently? So I'll hand it off to you for a second on that. Bring your take on these scenes. Sorry.
Well, I think it's already been covered. The thought of what is Rook doing in charge of the bridge, it does drag out a bit. I like the scene a lot, though. I hate to cut any scenes with Beck because, as I've said numerous times, I think she's probably my favorite character in the Avalon universe. So I hate to cut from her, but at the same time, the scene is pretty long. So I know you have the Joshua Irvin cut that you'd like to share with us. So I'll just let you show that.
So yeah, last night when we were talking on the phone, Christian was like, why don't you just go ahead and do that and put it on there, put your cut on the film. So my disclaimer here is that I didn't go back to the original footage to do this. I pulled it from the completed film. So it's not as airbrushed as it would be if I did that. But I'm going to preface it with Gordon's point here where he says, this is an entertainment series, not a documentary watched at the Academy. These are real people, real characters. Of course, they're emotional. Remember, no beach to walk on. And that's an important point because part of what we do with the Avalon universe is we're creating characters, not archetypes. And a lot of the people that come and give us a hard time, they're wanting to see an archetype. A captain would never do this. A first officer would never do that. Or, I was in the military and this is unrealistic. This is a show about characters and people aren't robots. They react the way they react. And so, yes, Gordon, that's an excellent point. So starting with the fight, just to rough of the fight to see if this means security responds fast enough. Bottles made of like a sugar glass material. It's made to shatter.
She did a shadow.
I love how she reacts.
Intruder alert. Deck 5, Section Alpha, Cabin 501.
I'm reading a Klingon life sign.
Klingon? Security alert, Deck 5, Section Alpha?
Hey guys. Nice of you to join the party.
All right, so what do you think is security's response time there?
Something about it is different, but I can't put my finger on it. I'd have to watch both scenes like simultaneously, side by side. But something about it feels better, actually. I don't know what the exact changes were,
So
but
I'll
it feels
I can walk you
natural. It
through
feels
it.
like they're coming and all.
So we skipped the entire sequence in the quarters. Just toss
I
that.
thought that was missing, but I wasn't certain.
Yeah,
Okay.
that just went on the cutting room floor, and after he calls for security, she's immediately getting thrown out the door. So we're not kind of playing around with the choking and all this and how she got out of that. But I'm gonna go back to the real segment one, and I'm gonna go through a couple of things. So I thought it'd be fun if during this knife battle we did some speed ramping. And speed ramping is, of course, the technical term for when you slow things down. So like he starts off fast and then it slows down while he's taking these swipes. Well, what people thought was, oh, he's just swinging the knife really slow. So it didn't come across to some people in the final product like it was a speed ramp. They were like, why is he swinging the knife so slowly? So it didn't work. It was a thing that I tried. My fault, didn't work. So that was, so I took that out in that second part. I just got rid of that speed ramping thing, went directly to the final sequence of knife stuff. And so that's what we did differently there. So going back to the airlock scene. Now look, people are, there are people that, in this liked the length of the airlock scene and liked the emotion of the airlock scene. There were other people who really thought it drugged the film. And from a mathematical, it was Pepto-Bismol, Jim. It was indeed Pepto-Bismol, and it stained that carpet square. And to this day, you go to Warp 66 and I can find that carpet square that's stained with the Pepto-Bismol. But so again, this was another thing of what if we cut it down? Well, it would be easier to cut it down if we, again, went back to the original source material and went to the original takes and things like that. It'd be a lot easier to do it. People talked about somebody said it was emotionally must have been emotionally draining to film the scene. Well, let me paint a picture for you. This scene took 12 hours to shoot. And it was 100 degrees inside the studio. This was June. And
June in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, inside a metal building. So she's like literally in between takes going over to a fan and lifting her skirt up and fanning herself off in front of in a corner. But she's like standing in front of a fan in between every single take. And the reason that it took 12 hours to film was because she wanted to go through the entire scene from every angle we shot it at. And she wanted to do that from an emotional standpoint because she and Chuck wanted to carry the emotion throughout the scene in every take. So every time we did it, 5.5 minutes, we did it from almost every single camera setup we did. We'd go through the whole scene in the camera setup. We'd maybe do 4 or 5 takes every single camera setup. So we're going an hour each camera setup. Then when we got done looking this direction towards this part of the A-frame, we cleared the set, moved everything around, relit, redressed, and then shot from that other angle. So we started early in the day, and by the time we were done, it was dark outside. So it was, and so they're not only carrying this emotion, they're doing it all day. They're doing it over and over and over, and it's 100 degrees in there. So
were you planning that day for the shoot to take that long? Because I'm sure there were other shoots you were planning to do that probably did not get done on that day.
Well, fortunately, I think I want to say that it was the only thing that we scheduled for that day. I think we devoted the entire day to just that scene. I don't think that I believed that it would take 12 hours, but we didn't lose anything because of that. So no, we at least, and again, it took something like 8 days to shoot this film, and so yeah, well, and everybody, that's fine. That's great, Jim. I'm really glad you like it. And yeah, I will tell Chuck thank you. But yeah, I didn't expect it to take that long. But then again, it didn't really bother me that it took that long. Yeah, I'm in there too. I'm hot. I'm used to that kind of thing. Ghost Ship was the same way. So yeah, it was draining for everybody. So
I got another question about the scene.
Go ahead, Christian.
So before the scene was filmed, and you and Victoria Fox wrote the script and then looked it over, before it was filmed, did you both have an idea of what angles you wanted? Anyway, even before you shot every scene? And the second part to that question is, after you had all the footage of all the angles, even angles that you knew you weren't going to use in post-production editing, did you find some new angles that you thought, we hadn't thought about this angle, but I'm glad that I recorded it anyway and ended up using it when it was not maybe your intention to use a certain angle, because maybe Victoria's idea ended up being a blessing because you got some other angles you hadn't considered before?
Sure. Yeah, even every angle I think that we took, we used. And yes, every angle that she suggested, we definitely used. And yeah, like she knows more about camera stuff than she leads on. She'll say like, well, I don't know anything about camera. That's not true. She certainly understands lighting very well because her boyfriend is a gaffer, so she understands that stuff better than she'll admit. There were 2 angles that we should have gotten and we didn't, and both of them were in the fight scene. She, in retrospect, was like, we should have gotten a close-up shot of him getting stabbed when she moves his knife and stabs him. She looked at that and was like, we should have had a close-up of the knife stabbing. I agree, we should have. And then there's that part where they all run in at the very end, where she's like, hey guys, nice of you to join the party. And she had a different idea for how she wanted to shoot this, and I wasn't understanding what she was trying to say. Like, I just straight up didn't understand what she was trying to describe. And what I should have done in this instance is say, come over here, set the camera where you want it, and then kind of like block this so that I can see it. And I didn't do that. Instead, I just was like, oh, this isn't going to work. And I was obstinate about it. And so in retrospect, that's something I wish I had done differently. Now, she's like standing on an apple box there. And let me see if we even show them together like this in a shot or something. Yeah, so he's like, this dude is like 6'6" or 6'7". He's a tall guy, Nate Murdoch. He's a tall dude. Whereas Victoria's like, I don't know how tall she is. She's like 5'1" or something. And so even in this shot where he's on his knees, he was taller than her. And so I was like, oh, geez, So I'm putting her on an apple box so that he's not taller than her on her knees. And I'm like, well, if we go to a wider shot like you're talking about, you're going to look shorter next to him. And so, but she wanted to do something else. I was not receptive to it. And in that instance, I should have been. So what I was thinking about was I didn't want her to look shorter than him in that instance. So, going back to the airlock scene, we do have an alternate cut of the airlock scene, so we're going to show that real quick.
I gave you an order, Commander.
With all due respect, Captain, your orders are wrong. You're not thinking clearly, and I am not letting you go out there.
I think you're forgetting who's in command here.
No, sir. I think you are. You cannot let your personal feelings drive you to reckless behavior. One person's life is not worth the rest of this crew.
So I can order more people to their death? This Mason and Archer weren't enough, so why not Jenkins or Hightower? Why not you?
Do you think you're the only person here who's lost someone? You think you get to fall apart because it hurts?
No. I know Mason was your friend too, but you weren't there. It should have been me.
He was my best friend. Especially after you were gone. Which means I know there's no way you could have talked him out of it. Maybe Mason would have been a great captain if he'd gotten a chance. But he's gone. He's gone and they're yours now. So don't you dare dishonor him by trying to live his life instead of yours. Your ship needs you. Your crew needs you. I need you. But if you'd rather go out there and throw away your life out of some misguided guilt, then you're not the captain I hoped either of you would be.
Hey, Amanda.
So cut about I think 3 minutes off of that. And again, if I were going back to the original footage, it'd be a little bit more polished, or I might make some other choices, but that's kind of a condensed version. I think that it would need a lot more work than that to really work in the film, but yeah. Gordon said, he was talking about the knife prop here. Fun fact about that, Chuck made the knife prop. Chuck Murray made that knife, and we still have it. So, yeah, it was cool. It was a cool prop. So moving past that, kind of wrapping it up, it's an award-winning film. We didn't end up having another Bijou Awards, because of COVID. We didn't have another Bijou Awards till 2021. And we didn't win Fan Film of the Year for this one, like we did for Ghost Ship, but it did win some stuff. Like, it won for Best Editing and Sound Design, but it also won for, I think John Laws won Best Actor for his portrayal of Laws. But what I can say, from a Tyler Donovan take, for example, when Alexandra Rexford and Caitlin Bailey won, Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, Tyler was like, that's a reflection on the director. Winning that the actors would win awards. That's also a reflection on the director. So the fact that John would win an award, that's something that can reflect on Victoria, and she can be proud that she made an award-winning film. And to me, it's a happy experience. It's an experience that I look back on very fondly, despite the stress and the challenges and the heat and all the things I'm not talking about. I remember this film very fondly. So, Christian, I'm gonna throw the last word on Demons to you for a second. Give me your take as an outsider, as a guy who commented on this film when it originally came out.
I don't know what my original comment was. I'm sure you could read it to me at some point, but I still think this is one of the absolute best Avalon universe episodes, Demons Part 1 and 2. This was really the one that really got me to be a true hardcore fan of the Avalon universe. I love the serious take of this particular 2-part episode. I think that Amanda Beck's character comes across very strong, and I mean that in a very positive way. Like she comes across as a strong character that I wanted to see more of based on her performance on here. I thought that her and Chuck Murray have a great dynamic. Someone said it in the comments earlier that those two had great I don't know how they worded it, great chemistry together as actors or whatever, but it sort of reminded me of Janeway and Chakotay, except obviously in reverse. This time, Chakotay's like the captain type guy, and Janeway's like the supporting first officer. But I would have really have loved to have seen those two, Captain Ramirez and Commander Beck, really be a tag team going forward. And I could see Amanda Beck becoming a future Starship captain based on the performance that she delivered here. So I love this one. I love Samuel Cocking's CG. It is amazing. It's some of the best. I mean, in TOS, even the remastered stuff, which I have mixed feelings about the remastered TOS, but this looks better. I'll just say it looks fantastically better than any special effects I've seen for any Star Trek production involving a Constitution class starship. I mean and even the new design that Samuel did with the torpedo tubes that are noticeable. Every aspect of this two-part episode I really love. The only thing I don't like, I should say at least one thing I don't like. I don't like that Archer dies off in the episode, because when I first watched it, I had no idea what was to come. And like I told you once before, I thought it was because of the guidelines. You don't want to have too many of the same characters repeat. So I was sad to see her go, because I didn't want to see her go. But of course, that made the scene all the more emotional, because you didn't just kill off some random red shirt that we didn't know before, who we didn't care about. You killed off someone that we really cared about, Archer, who was, as someone mentioned, like the Spock, McCoy, Kirk dynamic. That's what you had with Mason in the previous episodes, and Archer and Beck. So to see one of the three be killed here again after losing Mason, it's so heart-wrenching. But that's what you deliver here, right? A very heart-wrenching scene. So as a fan, I feel the loss of Archer, but then within the context of the show, the characters, especially Captain Ramirez, takes that really hard. And I could see where Captain Ramirez is coming from. Something happened on his previous command, the Valiant, that made him not want to be a captain anymore, and he's forced to take command after the death of his friend Mason, and now he's lost another close friend in the form of Chief Engineer Archer. So there's just so much I love about this episode, and I'll probably keep rewatching this one particularly over and over as time goes on.
For me, every time I go back and I look at a film that I sweated over, it's not just about remembering the film itself. Every time I see the film, I see the experience of making it. I know what that day was. I know what I was thinking and feeling when we filmed it, who we were working with, who we were making the film with. And that is very much so with this one. I remember this as a great time. I remember it as the best of times. And we had a great friendship, and I think we made a great film together. And one thing that Jonathan Lane said when he watched us work on Interlude is he said it almost looked like we communicated telepathically. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But I do know that when we did work together, we worked together very well when we could make it work. Ultimately, we couldn't. It's on both of us to an extent. I don't intend, I will say this, I don't intend to talk about it out of respect for her. I said twice now that I see her as having strong leadership qualities. She's intelligent, she's capable, and she's talented. And my opinion of her has not changed in that regard. So Again, I couldn't tell you anything about her life now or what she's doing or even where the heck she is. But I do think that all of those things that I said about her are true. I'm very glad that there are people that have watched this film and loved it. A lot of the things that we talk about with regard to this film are story driven, or they're, the knife thing, or, the dramatic choices in this scene or whatever. But, for me, I photographed this movie. And so I'm really, really happy with how I photographed this movie. I think it's beautiful. I think it's colorful. It's one of the few things that I've shot that I'll look at and go, I'm really happy with the way that turned out. And it overcame a lot of challenges. For example, we shoot that airlock scene, right? And then Victoria gets the news that her boyfriend broke his hip on a set. And so she's got to go take care of him for a bit. And she says, well, I'm going to need 6 weeks to go help him recoup. So we're going to have to pause shooting for 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. And then we find out shortly thereafter that Chuck got bit by a tick on that shoot and he contracted Lyme disease. So he's like,
this was mostly an indoor shoot. How did he get? There was a tick probably on the set.
No, there was not a tick on the set. Again, you'll understand when you see it.
It's to avoid.
It is out in the middle of nowhere. So he contracted Lyme disease, and so he had to take about another 6 weeks of his own to recuperate and undergo antibiotics and treatment and rest so that he could be back to his old self. And then, we start shooting Wildfire, the Legend of the Cherokee Ghost Horse, which was a for-profit film that we were both hired to work on. So we shoot that, corridor or that airlock scene in like June, and we didn't come back and finish the rest of the film until September, October. So there was a significant period of time that we took off from filming, but we still came back and finished it and had it on the internet for Halloween. So again, everybody did a fantastic job. Everybody contributed, and we made a film we can all be proud of. Who's the blue girl? So yeah, that was her name is Ashley Williams, I think. Again, she's a really good friend of Victoria Archer, who is a photographer. So, and this was the only film we had her in, but she was sweet. She did a good job, and we went through a couple of blue aliens before we landed on the wonderful Jessica Plyler, who is coming in to do ADR next week. So with that, we've been at this for an hour and a half. A lot of you have stayed for the whole time and really appreciate the time that you took to watch this film with us. Fun fact, while we were shooting this, we were also shooting parts for Air and Darkness, which is what we're going to talk about next. And so like all the bridge scenes for Air and Darkness were shot at the same time as the bridge scenes for Demons. So that'll be part of the stuff we talk about next time. Thanks happy birthday, Ron. Thanks for coming.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Yeah, thanks for being one of our friends and our supporters and our fans. So Christian, thanks for being here. All of the rest of you, thanks for joining us for an hour and a half of just talking about a little movie we made 6 years ago that we're real proud of. And we'll be back in about, hopefully, 2 weeks to talk about the next one. So until then, live long and prosper, y'all.
Yeah, live long and prosper.